Good evening, everyone. And by everyone, I mean Music Talk with John, the first person here watching. Welcome, everybody. It is Wednesday evening, and I am here in my basement. And I am joined, as I always am, by my faithful co-hosts, Frozen Pipe Guy, Daryl up at Northern Vinyl Guy, and Joe from Racer Records / On a Vinyl. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
And our special guest this evening, Richard. How you doing, man? I should say no longer Richard S. He's legally changed his name to Richard's Vinyl Tap House, which I think is great.
Yes, I'm not an illegal. So
there you go.
That's good. Right on.
Love the name change, and I've already requested a special bar stool in his tap house. So
we're going to make that happen.
Perfect. Everybody doing good? Everybody keeping warm, except for Daryl?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's gotten better in the last little bit, but I think the one that got the worst of it out of all of us was Daryl, because he had extra, besides just being cold, he had extra stuff going on.
I did. Yeah, it was quite a weird last couple days. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
The whole gang's here. Welcome, John, Sam, Trevor, and Vagina. How you folks doing? Yeah, Daryl's had quite the ordeal. So tell me, how did they unthaw is not a word. How did they thaw your pipes? Did they come with like a blowtorch or something? Or
so these houses up where I am, so there used to be a military base here from about 1961 to 1976 during the Cold War years, I guess. And all these old houses that teachers live in up here, they're all old military houses, and there's only crawl spaces underneath them. So my pipes froze because I didn't leave the taps on overnight. Usually if you leave the taps on, it doesn't help. But needless to say, they thawed my pipes out. It took 12 hours. They had this diesel heater under my house. Me and my wife and kids had to go over to another house that was vacant till the fumes could clear, because that was awful.
Oh man!
And so then we came back home and all that, and then I had the taps on overnight, and then the fucking hot water froze.
Oh, no.
So 2 days in a row, the water was frozen. And so it's exam week up here, and so some of my students were asking me why I was so grouchy. I said, because I haven't had my shower this morning. And they all were like, what? I was like, yeah, the pipes are all frozen. There were six staff houses, all with frozen pipes.
That's crazy.
To just put it in perspective, it was minus 39 with a wind chill of nearly minus 50 here. And that was for 2 straight days. And then today it's minus 14. And tomorrow it's supposed to be minus 6. It's just bizarre how that all goes down. Now, I do have a question, though, for Music Talk. What's it like having snow in Pensacola?
Well, John's. Yeah. I asked John about that earlier. He's nowhere near Pensacola because that's up on the Panhandle, and he's down by Orlando. So he says it's just freaking cold where he is.
I can imagine.
Yeah, Sam mentions New Orleans. I saw some guys throwing snowballs at each other on Bourbon Street, and there was one where they showed a guy skating. That's not happening, but the snowballs on Bourbon Street could be as well. I'm not sure.
Hey, Sam in Virginia, have you gone skiing yet, or what? Tobogganing, as we call it. I guess sledding, as you Americans call it. Frig.
Yep.
I was telling the guys before we went live to the people watching that although I'm here, I work for a North Carolina company and have for years, 2 different ones actually. And, they always used to have what they call the too low for where if there was any hint of snow, even just like a few flakes on the ground, everyone go buy 2 loaves of bread and a quart of milk, and they'd stay home because everything would be shut down because it was the winter apocalypse. And my boss called me on Friday and because there was a whiff of snow on the ground in Charlotte, and I go, you don't have any fucking idea what snow is, so just stop right there.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Sam says he doesn't have any snow, just cold. Wow, you got scathed. We have to address this very important thing, to which most of you are going to go, what the hell is he talking about? How about that Santander signing? And I'm going to swear here, folks. So if there's children listening, plug your ears. It's about fucking time we signed somebody. My God. Okay, so this is baseball. The Blue Jays suck, as I have been lamenting about almost on a weekly basis for 2 years. And our off season last year, we did the whole we're in the mix for Shohei, and that never happened because, of course, he was never coming here. He was just using us to leverage the Dodgers for more money. Not surprising. And then this winter, we have a grossly incompetent general manager in Ross Atkins. He is dumber than a bag of rocks. We're going after Juan Soto, and all the fan base went, there's no way Soto's coming to Toronto. And, of course, he didn't. And then out of the blue the other day, we signed Anthony Santander from Baltimore, which is awesome. 44 home runs last year. Thank God we have a bat in the lineup. And hopefully now they'll get off their ass and give Vladimir Guerrero the extension that he needs. Is he worth the $400 million that he's asking? I don't think so. But do we have a choice at this point? I don't know that we do. But if we can secure Vladdy, we've got Santander. We picked up that pitcher from Philly.
Can't remember.
That we had drafted originally back in 2016. I mean, I thought the off season was going to be an absolute write-off. So don't say shit like that. Watch him fail the physical. I hope not.
The thing is if they give Guerrero the money, maybe Guerrero will play like, hey, they gave me the money. Like, I don't think he was holding back or anything, but maybe that will give him a little incentive just to kind of get back to the form that he used to be in, because we all know he can be a great player if he wants to be a great player.
And you know what? Last year he had a terrible first half and an awesome second half. So he's still got it in him. As for Bichette, I couldn't give two shits what we do with him. I think he's an arrogant hot dog. If we got rid of him, I would not be upset. We got enough middle infielders, and frankly, I don't care how good his bat is. As a shortstop, he sucks. He should be a second baseman. Whatever. Anyway, it will be. Yeah, they say we're still in the hunt for Alonso, but I mean, if that happens, holy smokes, it will actually have been a pretty good offseason. So I don't know. We'll see. It's only 4 weeks till pitchers and catchers report to spring training, which that's hard to believe. Can't wait.
In the toughest division in baseball. It doesn't matter what you do. Sometimes you could do everything you possibly can, and the Yankees are going to outspend you, and the Red Sox are going to outspend you, and it doesn't really matter.
The thing: there's no reason that they should, right? Because
no.
If you look at the metropolitan size of New York, and we'll call it the financial pool that club can pull from to fund its team, right? In terms of ticket sales, merchandise sales, whatever. I would argue that we have a larger pool. Southern Ontario is a bigger geographical area. And because it's the only team, there's more people there than there is in New York City. I'm not just talking Toronto. I'm talking all of Southern Ontario. Why can't we spend the same amount as the Yankees?
They can. They just don't. That's the difference.
That's the
I think the Yankees always will make that big splash. But anyway.
And let's take a look at who owns the Jays. Rogers Communications, who also owns the Leafs, the Raptors, the Argos, and the stadiums that and do they not also own Toronto FC?
Yeah, probably. I don't know that for sure, but why wouldn't they if they own? Because they own everything else.
There are big telecommunications provider in Canada. So think of it like the Canadian Verizon, if you will. We got the money, spend it like shit. We're the only team in the country. You might as well.
Yep. Bring the Expos back.
I'd like that. That'd be good.
It'd be fun. I'd like that for a little bit. Yeah, I think.
Problem is though, the stadium there sucks. So you have to build a new stadium, but in order to build a new stadium, you need a team, but you won't get the team until you have the stadium.
Vicious circle,
egg, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, what's John saying here? He goes, the last time snow reached my area was 1989. They built the snowman who melted soon after. A sad short life. Poor snowman. Never forget Frosty.
I'll give you half my snow and I'll still have too much friggin' snow. We got a lot so far this winter, and it's more this weekend. But anyway,
We're quite
here to
lucky.
talk-
I got like maybe 4 inches sitting on the ground. That's it.
No, I don't know for sure, but it's more like a foot and a half. I think we've got a cumulative, and then by the time you shovel it, like I'm building tunnels outside to walk.
Oh,
So
ours isn't that bad.
Joe, Joe, he could just have the snow on the roof of our houses.
yeah,
That'd be
that's
enough.
right. Yeah, for sure.
I'm grateful we don't have a ton of snow here because my snowblower sort of bit the dust and I didn't get it repaired before winter. So I'm trying to survive the winter without a snowblower. So
Ooh.
we'll see what happens.
Exactly.
All
So-
right. Before we dive into our topic, which is, it's cold,
Yeah.
which is, we're talking about albums or songs or records or whatever about things that are cold, winter, whatever. I think I would like to take a minute to sort of talk about and acknowledge the passing the other day of one Mr. Garth Hudson, this guy here, the last surviving member of the band, who this is one of the most important bands to me ever, other than the Beatles and that other band that starts with a B that people Richard laugh at me when I bring up all the time. I mean, these guys were huge, and it's for me. There's a lot about this band that is important. I mean, pioneers in creating that sort of, dare I say, Americana genre, even though 4 of the 5 guys were from Southern Ontario, but pioneers in that genre. Some of the most incredible musicians to ever be in the same band. But for me, local band, they're from Stratford, Ontario, which is 45 minutes that way. My parents saw them before I was born. I know people that have worked with them. Just incredible guys. And it's always sad when your favorite musician dies. But to me, this one kind of hit kind of hard because, he's the last one carrying on the legacy of this incredible group of guys. And, all of my favorite bands, there's still people alive, right? So the Beatles are still 2 of them. Or, you think of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Well, Tom's gone, but Mike's still around. This band, everybody's gone. And it just, I don't know, feels a little emptier these days. And it's just, it's a band that just meant a lot to me. And it's kind of sad that, they're gone.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. You talk about we've got this, some of the Stones left, we've got some of the Beatles left, we've got some of the Who left. Well, we've got not most of the Who, but that's the first band, and they were a band. Like there's lots of lead singers that have passed away as well, right?
Sure.
And that's not to take anything away from the people that were in their bands, but obviously there's Jimmy and there's Janice and that are long passed away. But this is the whole band, right? This, and really the only other one that kind of comes to mind, and a big part of it was obviously because of the plane crash, was Skinner, right? Like the last, Gary died last year before, and so that's the thing. This is the whole band. Like we were not getting any new band music, so that's not the point, right? But yeah, it's odd, and that's been happening a little bit to me at a little more advanced age than you guys. And Richard, you can maybe attest to this as well. Like I remember when my parents movie stars started to pass away, the Rock Hudsons and things like that, people that they watched as movie stars. And now that's starting to happen a little bit. And the same with bands. Frank Sinatra passed away and Dean Martin passed away. And now we've got bands of ours that are passing away. And not for reasons like Kurt Cobain took his own life or things like that, but for reasons it's just becoming the time, unfortunately, somewhat becoming the time. And I'm not sure, Richard, if you've had that to start to creep into your memory a little bit as well, not to think about it more, but just that for me, more of my bands are starting to unfortunately pass away.
Yes and no. I mean, my first experience with it was in the 70s when Elvis died. because I was a
Sure, yeah.
huge Elvis fan at that time. My parents were like, "Hey, come downstairs, look at the news. Elvis had died." I was like, what, sixth grade or something, I think. I can't remember. But yeah, so I kind of, that was the first, and then it was like, my rock icons started just dropping over time, and it, like you said, continues to this day. The day Bowie died, people were like,
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And JWG says as well, the Ramones, that's another band that is going as well. So
Sure.
yeah. But so yeah, I mean, the band was influential to so many people as well, Canadian and American alike. So
Well,
yeah, it's a big loss.
when I think of the band, I mean, most people think of the band as, hey, they were the guys that backed Dylan before they went big. And while that's true, that is just a small part of their career. And I still think they would have been something regardless of Dylan or not, because Dylan gave them exposure, but the talent was entirely theirs. But I think of them in a different context, because I'm such a nerd for Canadian music. And these guys and Gordon Lightfoot, the two of them kind of opened the field up for everybody. And all of the people that I listen to today, the Blue Rodeos of the world and the Adam Baldwins and the, Kathleen Edwards and all those people that I listen to, all of them will point to the band as an influence at some point in their career. So all of that music that I love, that is a soundtrack to my life, started with these guys. So it's just such a huge loss. And, Garth was this weird, just an incredible piano player and keyboard player, apparently quite quiet and never said a word, but highly revered by everybody. And, just, it's sad that, the light is now, not that, again, to Joe's point, no new music's coming out from the band. No one's going to go through the vaults and find anything, because I don't know that there is anything. But just knowing that there was still one of them there, representing that legacy is kind of a sad thing. I'll show this real quick because I think it's kind of neat. I don't even know how hard it is to find, but 15 years ago, Garth Hudson, I'm going to make myself big for this one here. Here we go. Garth Hudson did this album here called Garth Hudson Presents a Canadian Celebration of the Band. It's only out on CD, and all the proceeds from this went to Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto, which was awesome. This was Garth getting together with anyone that was anyone in Canadian music, covering band songs, and he would play on those tracks with them, and it's awesome. So you get Bruce Cockburn, Neil Young, the Sadies, Cowboy Junkies, Great Big Sea, Blue Rodeo, The True, Chantal Kraviatzik, Rain Maida, Hawksley Workman, The Roadhammers, and more. Like, just what an incredible... If you can find this, it's so good. So good. Anyway. So just wanted to take a moment to sort of acknowledge Garth, and what a loss. I mean, I think of all the musicians that have died, and this one kind of hits me the hardest. I mean, when Robbie died a couple years ago, that was pretty hard for me, because he was the songwriting talent behind the band, but this just hits just as hard because, now they're all gone. So it is what it is. Anyway, any final thoughts? If not, we'll jump into our topic. All right.
It was the last waltz, right? So away we go. Yep.
Fair enough. So our topic, as I mentioned earlier on, was Richard's idea. Since everyone's freezing their ass off, we're going to talk about wintry kind of things. Winter songs, winter albums, but not Christmas songs. So not Christmas albums, but winter songs. So since this was Richard's idea and he's our honored guest, Richard, you're going first, man.
I'll go first. I don't mind.
Let her rip.
And of course, my albums came out of order from what I wanted to talk about. But anyway, we're going to open this with a twofer. How about that? Two different acts that did a song with the same title, but two different bands. Any guesses?
Two
Give me a
different
clue.
bands.
Who are
Snowblind.
those guys?
Snowblind. Snowblind from Ace Frehley. And who did the other Snowblind?
Blue Oyster Cult. No, I can't remember. Styx. There you go.
Styx. Good answer, Joe.
That's because I saw, but you know.
What I think is neat about these is not just the fact that they're both snow related in a way, but they both have to do with cocaine, cocaine addiction, or cocaine use. Both of them, and I had to kind of look that up to make sure I was on the right track with that. And one of the things that's funny is that I was reading some articles and Reddits and whatnot of people going, when I got that Ace Frehley album when I was 10, I thought Snowblind meant he was stuck in a snowstorm. And boy, was I disappointed when I got older and I found out it was about cocaine. It was like, yep, that's rock and roll.
Yeah, exactly. Who wrote that? Is that on the back? Because I don't think Ace wrote that one. I'm not sure. He might have. I mean, it's not like he didn't live that lifestyle. He probably, and maybe he co-wrote it. But I'm not sure.
Let's take a look.
Please, because I can't remember.
No, he wrote that. Ace Frehley wrote that.
Oh, did he? Okay, cool.
Because Anton Fig was writing some of the other stuff, but he wrote that one. So
awesome.
Ooh, I found something else inside there. It's the like order forms for ordering Kiss crap.
Gene will take your money. You send that in and you send Gene money, he'll send you something. I don't know what, but he'll send you something. So.
Speaking of Gene, Gene's coming with his band to the Paramount Theater here in Denver.
Really?
The cheapest tickets are like $100 and something bucks. I'm like, no,
nope.
I'm not giving that man any more of my money.
Nope, exactly. And it's probably going to be
songs. Like, no. Is this the side that has all the cool at chain? Yeah, there it is.
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
You know, I got that. Somebody gave me a whole pile of used records, and when I looked at the vinyl for that with the etching, I actually thought that it was water damaged. That the cover had stuck to it, and somebody cleaned it off. And then when I was inputting it in my Discogs, I realized that it was an etching.
Wrong. It's supposed to look like that. So yeah, Snowblind. Snowblind, yeah. It's cold, but it's not snow.
There you go. And there was one other by the looks of it, and I knew that I couldn't remember the Styx one, and there was somebody. I knew there was somebody else, but there you go. I bet it's also about cocaine. What do you think?
You think?
Maybe, maybe not, but maybe.
Could possibly be.
Yeah.
All right, Daryl, Joe, which one do you want to go next?
Frozen Pipe Guy, you're up.
All right, you're up, Daryl.
All right, I'm also going to do a twofer here. So the first thing that kind of came to mind when I was thinking about winter, I guess, is just the location that I live in. I mean, it seems like it's winter time, like 8 months of the year here. I know it's not, but it just feels like that. So the first thing that I thought of, and the reality is I have seen these. I've taken a photo of these literally over the back of my house. And that is, I've shown this before, but Northern Lights reminds me of the wintertime. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Tears Are Not Enough. I know that this, out of the three, for whatever reason, everybody hates this one. This is my favorite one.
I don't mind
Tears
it.
Are Not Enough.
I don't mind
That's
it.
okay.
Joe loves it because Brian Adams is on it.
Have any of you seen the Northern Lights, like actually in?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, they're pretty bright here. I've seen them to the point where they are dancing in the sky. It is a unique thing to see.
I've seen them twice like that. Hasn't seen them like that in a long time, but we saw them back in the summer. We just drove 10 minutes outside of the city, and you could just barely see them. But then if you took a picture with your camera, because it's more sensitive,
yeah,
it was pretty incredible.
Yeah,
they're super cool. I mean, obviously, if you're further south and you haven't seen them, if for whatever reason you get a chance to see the Northern Lights, they are unique. They're pretty cool.
Yep.
And obviously, the further north you go, the brighter they are and the clearer they are.
You must see them with some regularity up there, then. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, usually around between November and and January is when they're at their strongest, at least where I am. We actually have a tracker. My wife has a tracker on her phone of when they might come out. And so, yeah, you'll know that they're out when there's a whole pile of people on Facebook. They're always posting, we saw the lights.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, for sure.
So that was
This
the
is
first thing that came to mind, living in this northern town. And then the second thing was, I don't know what it is. Every time I hear this song by this band, it's almost like I'm always at a 1960s or 70s restaurant cafe kind of thing. And you know how they play the music in the background, you're just listening. The Dream Academy's Life in a Northern Town. I don't know why. Every time I ever hear this song, it's when I'm in a cafe on a cold day, cold night. And I love that song though. Like ever since I was a kid, I had it on one of those, I wouldn't say K-Tel, but some kind of a mixed tape. And I brought it on my grade 8 Toronto trip, and I was listening to it on the bus and stuff like that. I just remember it. And yeah, I could listen to this all day. So when it comes to winter, I know that it's kind of an obscure way of approaching it, but for me, living in the north, the northern lights, living in the north, it kind of represents it as a whole for me. So those were the first two things that kind of came up.
That works.
Definitely. This is gonna sound like a made up story, but it's not. I used to work at a hotel. That's not the part that sounds made up. I did, and I did work. That's also not the part that's made up. We had a convention, and there was a number of Americans, and it's not to talk about Americans, but they just lived more south than we are of the Northern Lights. And I swear to God, there was a lady that when she checked in asked what time we turn the Northern Lights on at night. She just thought it was just a flick of the switch, and she like straight faced. It's just like, you guys just turn them on, right? So we're gonna get a chance to see them. It's like, no. Hopefully they'll come out for you, but we don't just turn them on. So, but yeah, it is an amazing sight to see. It really is. So yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, so there you go. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, I was going to mention before I forget. I saw today, Daryl, before I forget, that your band, and I don't think you're going to bring them up, or I'll wait till then. But the Glass Tiger Boys are getting inducted into the Canadian Rock and Roll Music, whatever it's called, Hall of Fame. Did you see that today?
I did not. I'm going to have to look it up. That's exciting news for me. With this latest freeze my ass off contest that I've done, there's been a lot of people that have talked about it. Most recently, Ed from On My Turntable, he even had records on his wall, of which one of them was Bruce Hornsby. Kind of went with that theme for my contest. But yeah, no, I'm pretty excited about the Glass Tiger stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah,
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just today it was announced, but I saw it today. So
they may or may not show up later on this show. I'm not sure. I can neither say yay or nay on that one.
Neither confirm nor deny, right? There you go. All right, so I've got a couple that are conceptual that you're going to have to think about them a little bit, and then I got others that are just right on the nose. This is going to be a bit of a conceptual one. Plus, I don't think I've ever shown this album, and it's very cool. I might have. Anyway, because we all come from the land of the ice and snow. So it's really just a lyric is all I'm going for in the immigrant song. But my lovely wife, I said, Kate, give me one or two, because I always ask her what I should come up with. I let her participate a little bit on Tuesday night or whenever it is that we decide. And she goes, do the immigrant song. And the reason that she likes that is, I'm not sure, you guys are, again, a bit of the age, but there used to be a web page, and this guy made these really weird short films, and they were cats. And he has the cats in a big boat with Viking hats and everything to the immigrant song. And she has just always loved that. So that's what came to mind for her, was we come from the land of the ice and snow, and Zeppelin and the immigrant song. But this is a super nice, clean copy. And I think everybody that's watching will know that this does this and spins around and does all that. But this thing is perfect. And I don't think it's my original, but it's an original Canadian, and it's just in great shape, and the wheel works really well. And yeah, so we all come from the land of the ice and snow. That's my first foray into the cold. Oh, and I was going to mention earlier, anyone says the phrase cold enough for you or types it in the comments, Rob, I apologize, but they will just have to be kicked off of this because I never want to hear that friggin' saying ever again.
Right? I'm good with
tired
that.
of that. If you
Good with
live here or where some of us or most of us on camera here live, I'm sure you are also tired of it cold enough for you.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to start off with an entire album about winter. How about that?
Excellent.
Ooh.
And I guarantee you none of you have heard it. How about that?
Okay.
This is an album called Last Winter by a Canadian singer-songwriter named Greg Keeler. This is I'll show you what Greg looks like. Here's Greg. Where is he? There's Greg right there. Surly old fella. Or that's what he looks like. He's actually the nicest man in the world. This was a solo album he did back in 2018. It's more of an EP, I guess, because it's Greg's solo stuff tends to be a little more ethereal and a little more longer and softer and moody, I guess. And the mood of this record is exactly what is depicted on the front of this. It's just kind of a cold, lonesome sort of record that, but good. I mean, it's typical Greg Keeler, but if you're looking for rose-colored glasses or hasn't hit me yet, this is not what this is, but thoroughly enjoyable. So, and there's a sort of a nice cold winter forest kind of deal. So, I don't even know what the song titles are. I mean, I've listened to this before many times. I don't know. Let me just see if I can pull this out here. He doesn't even have the song titles on here anywhere. So how about that? There they are. Gord's Tune, which I believe is about Gord Downey. And City is a Symphony. I can't tell you what any of these are about, even though I listened to this as early as this afternoon. But the whole mood is just sort of cold and lonesome, is how I would describe it. So there you go. What do we got for some comments here? Whereabouts are we? John wanted to point out Foreigner's Cold as Ice. Vaginal says Tweezers, Seven Below, Winter Queen, all songs by Fish that fit the theme. He said in winter 1963 felt like the world would freeze with John F. Kennedy and the Beatles. What the fuck are you talking about, John? Morton, how you doing, man? Welcome.
Hey, Morton.
10th Avenue Freeze Out. That doesn't really count.
I almost went with that one.
But that's not about being cold.
It's not about winter.
It's free.
Nope.
It just it's not what that's about.
No, there may be a Billy Joel song coming up later.
Oh Jesus. John just went from 6 to midnight. Ice Ice Baby. Yeah, you could go that way. Ryan, Bonnie Dobbs, Winter's Going from her 69 self-titled album. I don't know that one. Do you guys know that one?
Nope, I don't.
Well, you're smarter than we are, Ryan.
There you go. Ryan's got one on us all. Yeah.
That does not take much because we are far from experts. We're just four goofs sitting around talking about stuff. So, Richard, you're up again, man. What you got?
Sure. Well, this band came to mind by their name. So we think of winter, you think of ice, you think of frozen things. My mind immediately went to Icicle Works. And not their big song, Whisper to a Scream. This was The Small Price of a Bicycle, which actually never got released in the United States. So I had been on the hunt for this for quite some time, and lo and behold, I found it a couple of years ago at a record fair, and the guy wanted $7 for it. I'm like, sold, gimme. I've wanted this forever. It's a great album. Hollow Horse was Icicle Works' first big hit in the UK. And it kind of went from there. Then Whisper to a Scream became big internationally. The other album I have by them, I have the other album with Whisper to a Scream, but I love this one too.
This one here, Richard?
Is what?
Yeah, that one there.
Yeah, that one.
There, eh? I was going to show it, but
sorry.
There you go.
You can still show it. I'm not showing that one.
Oh no, I got a ton more. It's all good.
If you want to defeat your enemy, sing his song. This is probably one of my favorite ones because of the song that came on MTV's 120 Minutes Elapsed called Understanding Jane. And it's just a romper stomper of a song. Ian McNabb, the lead singer, is still alive and well and releasing album after album after album he just did a Fleetwood Mac covers album. So, might be worth checking out, but I'm friends with him on Facebook, so he's hysterical. He posts absolutely hilarious posts on Facebook. So, Icicle Works, freezing cold north of England.
Yeah.
So
Whisper to a Scream is a good song.
Whisper
All their music is good.
Amazing song.
Yeah, they're completely under the radar. Those guys, like.
They're coming. I think they're doing a North America tour with a bunch of like summer, 80s bands. And they're among the acts. They're not coming to Denver yet, but they're coming to Arizona in August. Who the hell wants to go to Arizona in August? So as much as I would love to see them, because I never have, we'll see.
I'm going to Nevada in August. Does that count? That's still pretty hot and miserable.
Yeah,
terrible.
That's more.
Why do you? You have to go to Nevada.
I have to. Trade show. Because not only is it hot, you got to walk around outside with long pants on, because that's a fucking brilliant idea.
Dress code suck.
I know, right? God. I mean, I know you're only walking from the Uber to the front door of the convention center, but that 200 feet, you just about die. So, couple comments before we keep going here. John's guessing the Billy Joel song might be Nylon Curtain, so we'll see. And Ryan's saying that Bonnie Dobson, she wrote Morning Dig. Gotcha. Cool. And now I understand what John was talking about. There we go. MGK Buffalo, how you doing, Mike? Says, I'm living in a Lake Effect snow globe. What beer brands are available up in Moosonee, Daryl?
Well, I'm drinking Stella right now. We've got a beer store / LCBO on the main street that's always sold out, but we can pretty much get anything as long as we order it.
You have a Tim Hortons there?
No, but the gas station is Country Time.
Oh, that sucks. That's like drinking your own piss.
Tell us how you really feel, man. Jeez.
Don't ask me what I think of Bob Dylan, folks. You get another colorful metaphor. So,
but if it wasn't for Bob Dylan, there'd be no Jacob Dylan and there'd be no Wallflowers. So you have to give him that much, if nothing else.
That's true. I may not like what came out of his mouth, but I like what came out of his balls, I guess.
There you go. Good enough. We'll leave it
On
at
that note, is it your turn now, Daryl?
Yes.
It sure is. It sure is. All right, for this next one, it's going to be this next one's going to be a 3 for all by the same person.
Give her.
I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Canada's, say, country folk kind of hero. And I'd also be remiss if I didn't talk about Canada's winter national sport. So I'm going to talk about Stompin' Tom and the hockey song.
Right
that
on.
Reminds me of winter, no doubt about that. So that is on. I mean, this is the hockey song. Actually, I got this during that raid of the radio station I did. So that was a free album. It was amazing. And then Stompin' Tom's album, The North Atlantic Squadron, has a song on it called Too Late to Hurry When Snow Flurries Fall. It's a pretty cool song. My brother and I used to listen to Backyardin' and Jack of Many Trades on this album. when I was a kid. But I like that one, North Atlantic Squadron. If you haven't had a chance to check that one, if you're a Stompin' Tom fan, I know that not everybody's going to be into him, but I mean he's kind of a Canadian legend.
Everyone
And then
has
on
to
the bring-
love one or two Stompin' Tom songs. Like that's a
Yeah.
requirement of citizenship.
And then on the Bringing Them Back album, there is a song on here called When It's Springtime in Alaska. And if I'm going to talk about an American state that reminds me of just winter in general, it's going to be Alaska. So there we go. A 3 for Stompin' Tom. I mean, I've always got a kick out of Stompin' Tom. The hockey song's one of the best songs ever by him. And
I love him.
I mean,
I do not own any Stompin' Tom. I've never seen a Stompin' Tom record, but the day that I see one, I'm fucking buying that thing.
Bud the Spud, Sudbury Saturday Night.
Yes,
it's
sir.
Just good. You just get
Richard, do you even know who the hell we're talking about?
I've heard, again, I live close enough to the Canadian border that stuff dripped down into North Dakota. I've heard of Stomping. I've never.
Stompin' Tom Connors was essentially, he looked like a cowboy. And I believe he was from Prince Edward Island. And he was called Stompin' Tom because he always, every show, he stood on a piece of plywood and he thumped his cowboy boot on the plywood. Half the time didn't have a band behind him, so he was his own bass, right? So that's where the Stompin' Tom came from. And he, I mean, as much as I've talked about Gordon Lightfoot and others, there is no one that wrote more songs about the Canadian experience than Stompin' Tom.
There's a song that he does. I have it on just like a K-tel, but he does a song called My Stomping Grounds, and all 10 provinces are named in that song.
Yep.
I don't know. I guess he just couldn't fit in the 3 territories or the 2 territories at the time, but he was able to basically give you a geography lesson in a 2-minute song.
Let me put it to you this way, Richard. He's from Prince Edward Island, which is a province that's an island, and it's so small you can drive across it in a couple hours. It's tiny. And Prince Edward Island is known for, that's where our potatoes come from. Very, very good potatoes. Better than potatoes from Idaho, I hate to tell you. But he wrote an entire song about a truck driver named Bud the Spud who would drive potatoes to the mainland. And I guarantee you there's not a Canadian over the age of 20 that doesn't know the words of that fucking song.
Okay.
Bud the Spud from the bright red mud rolling down the highway smiling.
Yep.
He's a cultural icon.
All that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, man,
And that awesome. he is arguably, I don't know, maybe you guys can attest to this or not. He is one that necessarily I didn't give a lot of credo to, and then all of a sudden it went, oh shit, yeah,
right.
Okay, I get it. This is awesome, right? It was like, I'm not listening to that crap. And then, oh yeah, no, that I get it. I get it. And it's great. It's just really, really good stuff. Yeah.
Yep. I'm hesitant to click on this comment because I just read the first part of it. John says in the winter of '89, as a matter of survival, he drank his own pee. The stores were closed and pipes frozen. We were hungry and a friend were missing, but he's got to be fucking with us.
Wow. Well, that's a Stompin' Tom. That might be a Stompin'
That
Tom.
could be a Stompin' Tom
song. Could be, sure. You
never know. I don't want to think about John drinking his pee. So.
No.
All right, Joe. On that note, you're up.
Yeah. On that note, also, Richard, I meant to tell you. I think maybe I've picked my Red Rocks concert. Maybe, I don't know. There'll be others announced, so I'm not positive. But this is part a happy comment and part a pissed off, a little bit of a rant, but I'll keep it short. So my happy comment is the fact that Billy Idol and my sweetie Joan Jett are playing at Red Rocks, and Billy still sounds great, and she still sounds great, and I think that would be a great fun show to see there. My rant is the fact that these artists need to stop calling a North American tour when there's one date in Canada. Now, with that said, he played some Canadian dates last year, so it's not that he never plays here, but they got to stop. It's like he's in that commercial for Wealth Trade or whatever, where stop calling yourself rock stars, right. That commercial, right, where the business people are calling them. Artists need to stop saying North American too, and all they're playing is Toronto. Anyway, that's my rant. I'm done. Up next, for your listening pleasure, I don't think this is one that I've shown either. I know we're not doing the things we haven't shown thing, but this is one of my few Grateful Dead albums that I've got. I've got a box set, and I've got a couple of the standard Grateful Deads, but this is one that I've got along the way. Fairly cool. Let's take it out of the plastic. We'll talk about the plastic in a moment. Fairly cool cover, kind of Grateful Dead-ish, but on here there is a song called, and I am not super familiar with, so I have to look up what it is called, but I found it earlier, and it is Cold, Rain, and Snow. So neither are good. I'd rather actually have it warm out and snowing than be cold and raining if I was having to pick one of the two combinations. But it's a good Grateful Dead album. It's a Grateful Dead album, and it's got a kind of a cool cover. And this is another original Canadian that used to belong to someone by the name of J.G. There's the autograph on the cover. So, but that's okay. We've talked about that before. I have no problem with that being on the cover. So there you go. Cold, Rain, and Snow. Rather have warm snow than cold rain.
True.
I think. Yeah, I think that's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
But isn't warm snow by definition cold rain?
Yes. But you weren't supposed to point that out, but that's okay.
Glass half empty, half full, I guess, then, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
All right. I guess it's my turn then.
Mm-hmm.
Since Daryl showed the hockey song, I'm also going to show a hockey song, but not the same hockey song. I may have shown this little gem before.
Yes.
There's a song here called Big League, which is a hockey song. But there is Tom Cochran, by the way, who I've met, and it's autographed. But we've talked about that before. There's some imagery here about, a parent raising their kid, taking their kid to hockey practice. When he was a kid, we'd be up at 5, take shots till 8, and make the thing drive out after school and back on the ice. Getting up early in the morning in the middle of winter to go to those hockey practices. Not many ways out of this cold northern town. You work at the mill and get laid on the ground. What else? Sometimes at night you hear the ice crack. It sounds like thunder and it rips through my back. Just all that imagery of, playing pond hockey, or as we call it up here, shinny. That's a very cold and wintry kind of thing. So on the heels of Daryl's hockey song, I'm going Big League. It's actually a very tragic song inspired by a true story. It's about someone that ultimately died before they made it to the big league, but it is a true story. So
yeah, it was. He spoke with his dad, right? It was his dad that relayed him the story at some point, and I'm not sure if it was hey, I have a song idea for you, but they were talking, and the song came from that discussion. So
his son was down in the States on a hockey scholarship, and he was killed in a car accident or something like that. A few comments here, right? Record Hound, Stompin' Tom stomped through boards at his merch tables. No shit, that's cool.
It'd be awesome.
I'd buy one of those. I helped set up a couple Stompin' Tom shows. No way, that's awesome. His rider was 2 warm cases of Moosehead.
Yeah. I don't know.
Talk about drinking piss. Oof.
And Andrew's saying he's jealous I met Tom Cochran.
Yep. But the best part of the story, beyond all of the good parts of the story, is that the man that I thought Tom Cochran was, he is. That
absolutely.
I live vicariously through you with that every day. Not every day, but every day we talk, at least anyway. So it's good.
Yeah, and you know what? I wondered if is he just his public persona, but. I was talking to my friend Bob about him, who knows him because they're musicians. And Bob goes, he is absolutely that way all the time with everyone. He is a gentleman of gentlemen. So that's very cool.
Yep.
All right. Richard, you're up again, man. Round 3.
Let's do this. So we've done snow things. We've done ice things. We've done icicles. How about a band from Iceland?
Can do that.
Yeah, this is the truth. Just so you know. If you haven't heard of Sigur Rós, you need to hear about Sigur Rós because they are probably one of the most fascinating bands that dropped after about the year 2000. I was living in DC when I heard about these guys, and they came to the 930 Club, which is a sizey-ish venue that everybody on the planet has played. This album had, I think this album had just dropped, but they were still kind of touring on the, not directs, but the bottom of their last album called Vaughn, which I have too. One of the most stunning concerts I've ever been to, the lead singer named Jonsi, he plays his electric guitar with a bow pretty much throughout the entire show. Fairly large number of people in the band, so they have a keyboardist and they have a bass player and yada yada yada. Sometimes they play with an orchestra. If you've ever been to a concert where the entire audience did not say one word during songs because they were entranced with what was going on, that's what it's like to go see these guys. They are just captivating, and the music is beautiful, it's ethereal, it's mostly in Icelandic or even made up languages. So this was one of the most fascinating shows I've seen. And then the lead singer did a solo album called Go. I can't remember when this came out, but I was kind of reluctant to go see this tour. I was like, oh, it's just a solo thing, it won't be good. Visually, it was one of the most stunning concerts I've ever been to, just from the projections and the imagery. It was all computer rendered, kind of how they track things in 3D. So if there was a song about a progression of a storm coming through, by the end of it, you could see wind whipping and trees were flying. It was stunning. I'm just like this during the whole show. Tears in my eyes at some point. So, Jonsi from Sigur Rós and the band Sigur Rós. They have several albums. Some are easier to find than others. Sadly, on vinyl, they're sometimes very expensive albums, but I don't care.
Did you see Morton's comment? He went to school with the bass player.
Ooh, yes. Very cool. Yeah, amazing band. Absolutely. I've seen them twice in DC, 2 or 3 times here, and then the solo show from Jonsi, and I would go again. Oh, I've seen them at Red Rocks too. So they played a more upbeat album. Yeah, good time.
Very cool.
Awesome. That's great.
Cool. All right, Daryl.
All right. So when I was a kid, I don't know, my parents, I don't know if it was a Christmas gift or a birthday gift or something. They had bought me this this VHS tape. Now, those of us in Canada, I don't know if Americans will know too much about Don Cherry's Rock'em Sock'em Hockey. But my parents bought me a VHS tape. It wasn't Don Cherry, but there was one that they got, and it was called Hockey the Lighter Side. And one
I
of the
remember that.
I remember. You remember that?
Absolutely, yes.
One of the last tracks, and this one's for you, Music Talk. One of the last tracks on the VHS tape when they were showing the segments was the Billy Joel song, and it's from the album The Bridge. I know that this isn't John's favorite Billy Joel album, but I had to go with Running on Ice from Billy Joel off of this album. This album also has This Is the Time and A Matter of Trust, which would be the two, I guess, main singles that are on it. But Running on Ice, I don't know if anybody's ever tried to do that. Running on Ice, it's nearly impossible unless you've got like you took that one too, eh? But it's a great song, and I don't know what it is. It reminds me of in the video Hockey the Lighter Side. When that song came on, there was a goalie that was skating to the bench when they pulled the goalie, and the goalie was falling down because I don't know if it must have been playing. I think it was a Philadelphia Flyers goalie or something. But yeah, no, Hockey the Lighter Side. The last I had checked, I think somebody had uploaded the entire video to YouTube. And there was interviews with like Brian Bellows and all kinds of hockey players, and it was pretty cool.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, if you're not familiar with Don Cherry's Rock'em Sock'em Hockey, I don't know how many episodes he did. I think it went to like 12 or 13, and
Something
it was
like
just
that.
videos of hits and fights and rough old school hockey. So yeah, no, I don't know why it just came to mind. Thought about that VHS tape and I had that album. So there we go.
Speaking of Don Cherry, did I ever tell you about the time I met Ron McLean?
I don't think so. Nope.
Because I did. I met a lot of people. Richard, you can't laugh at this, but this is a Blue Rodeo story.
Okay.
I was backstage at a Blue Rodeo concert in Hamilton, at Hamilton Place. So go backstage, and they have like a room where they're doing the meet and greet. I snuck backstage. That was before I had a friend in the band, and I did not have a backstage pass, but I got backstage. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we're in this room waiting for the band to come out, and my wife and I, which was my girlfriend at the time, we're standing there, and I see this guy over in the corner of the room by himself. And I said to Kim, I go, "Holy shit, that's Ron McLean." She goes, "No." She looks up. She goes, "That's Ron McLean." I go, "We got to go talk to Ron McLean." So we go over and I said, "Hey, Ron, don't mean to bother you or anything." He goes, "No, no bother at all. I've been watching you since I was a kid, because I always watched hockey with my grandparents. And, we talked about hockey for like literally 30 seconds. And then he and I started talking about guitars. And he's a massive, massive music fan. He's the guy responsible for putting all the Canadian music that you hear on Hockey Night in Canada. And so I must have talked to him for like 15 minutes, just the nicest guy. And as we were about to leave, he goes, "Hey, do you want to take a picture?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So he flagged someone else, "Take a picture." So we're standing beside my wife, and I can't find the picture, but he goes, "Well, we got to give the grapes thumbs up." I'm like, "All right." So the three of us are there like Don Cherry giving the thumbs up, and someone took a picture of us with Ron McLean. So there you go.
Right on. That's good.
For Americans watching, Hockey Night in Canada is a religious program that we are required to watch every Saturday night. And in between the first and second intermission, there was two commentators, Don Cherry and Ron McLean, and they would talk about hockey. Don McLean used to be the coach of the Boston Bruins. In the 70s, you either love him or hate him. I hate him, but nonetheless, they're cultural icons. They don't do it anymore. That's a whole other story. But for a good part, probably 40 years? Something like that.
It was up
30
there,
years?
Yeah, something like that.
Long time. So there you go. Joe, you're next.
Just a good old Canadian kid, eh?
Hey.
Something like that. All right. We are going to go with a little bit of a concept again. Not going to have the words cold and or ice and or snow, which I think everything else after this is going to have. But for those that are aware, I don't know if you're familiar with the movie called The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Absolutely.
But it is set. Yeah. If you're not, you should be. But it is set. And it is what I think of as cold. If I'm thinking of cold, that, especially that first outdoor scene when the dog's running up and stuff, just all of that, and the beards are frozen and everything. So this is, it just puts me in the mind of friggin' cold. You can see he's got the big hooded jacket on there and everything going on. But so this is just something that when we decided on that we were going to do this topic came to mind. Plus, it's actually made out of ice as well, so it's got a little bit of that going on. And it's, of course, it's just the it's not the soundtrack. You don't have a soundtrack to a John Carpenter movie. You have a score.
It's a score. Yeah.
A score to a John Carpenter movie. So yeah, it's that. It's the score. And then I'm just going to set that aside. And then the other one is again, it's in Anina. I can never get this guy's name right. Morricone, anyway. The guy that did The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and all that good stuff. Plus John Carpenter. I think John Carpenter was more of a score guy than he was a director. He just happened to be.
I think he wanted to make movies, so he had a vehicle for his scores.
So he could make scores. Yeah, exactly.
I think so.
So anyway, yeah, there's the outpost that the Thing attacked and et cetera, et cetera. And it's such a great movie. And then there you go.
Cool.
That doesn't make
That's
you think
cool.
of ice and and snow. I don't know what does. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a great album. It's obviously very visually spectacular as well. And the only thing missing is the better inner sleeves than these paper sleeves. I thought I had changed them out, but I happened to just get some brand new inner sleeves from Vinyl Storage Solutions.
Oh, did you now?
Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
Oh, wow.
And you know what I did? What I did when I ordered? I
What?
used the promo code Northern 10.
Really? What did that get you?
And it got me 10% off. So
No kidding.
I am gonna have to put them in. I'm gonna go and get them right now.
Okay.
I'll go and get them right now. You guys
do that. And
discuss
so,
it.
what's the website you get those from again?
If you go to vinylstoragesolutions.ca,
Oh,
and
okay.
then when you order, there'll be a place that put a promo code in, and you put in Northern 10.
Northern 10. Good to know.
Yeah, and
Thanks,
and
Joe.
it's
That's a good
10%
tip.
off.
We'll have to
It's
remember
10%
that.
off. Exactly.
It's good to know. All right, my turn now. And by the way, Alex, how you doing, man? Welcome.
Hey, Alex.
And Vaginal saying we used to have a Don Cherry's restaurant. Yeah, there used to be a bunch of them around. I remember there's one up in Collingwood I went to a few times. So I did a bulk order from VSS for 1,000 inner sleeves. Can't beat the price. You should have used the code Northern 10. You save money. I don't know if you did or not, but you should. All right, my turn. I'm going to go way different than anything I've shown before. This is a little-known singer, female singer-songwriter. I don't know if anyone's heard of this young lady. Her name is Taylor Swift. I don't know if anyone knows who she is or not.
New,
Taylor Swift. And this is a little indie album that she put out called Midnights. And there's a song in here called Snow on the Beach. Snow on the Beach, weird but fucking beautiful. It's actually a great song. Lana Del Rey sings with her on it. Yeah, good song. Great album. There you go. Snow on the Beach. Not much to say about it. It's, she basically describes a visual of, it's cold and it's snowing on the beach, and that is such a strange juxtaposition of what you would normally see on a beach. So
it's the visual of the Florida Panhandle right now.
Well, exactly that, right?
She should think about going on tour. I bet she could have a fairly successful tour if she went out on tour, don't you think? A North American tour. Maybe she could do a North American tour.
Alex, you think that's the weakest song on Midnights? Get out of town. No way. I would say that Labyrinth is weaker. Midnight Rain is weaker. I think Snow on the Beach is one of the strongest. Really. Wow. Anti-Hero is my favorite. But I also love Vigilante Shit, because you see how she does that on the Eras tour. Ooh, good Lord. All right. Vaginal says, I think she plays for the Chiefs. Yeah, maybe. All right. Richard. I haven't screwed up the order yet tonight. This is good.
You're doing good.
I know. But it's only been an hour, so I still have another hour to screw up.
So Rob and I have a band in common that we both have a very serious appreciation for. But sadly, the song that I'm going to bring up is Rob's least favorite album by this band. And the band is U2.
Wow.
And your least favorite album on the planet is Zooropa.
True.
What song on here has to do with cold and wintry?
I don't know, because the album sucks so bad. I could only name like 3 songs.
It'll be a cold day in hell before he listens to the album. That's why.
Probably. Okay, so it would make you feel numb to.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. If anything about that song, it's probably the most fascinating video U2 ever made. With the Edge just sitting in that chair, singing the song, getting wrapped up in ropes, and Bono doing his slightly annoying falsetto throughout the whole song. But it's one of their more interesting songs. So, and we got a twofer here too.
Hold on.
So,
what pressing is that? Is that looks like some kind of a reissue.
This is, hang on, let me look. It doesn't particularly. It is a reissue because I know it's not an original. This is from 2018.
Would it make you jealous if I told you the one I have is an original from 1990, whenever the hell it came out?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Would it make you jealous if my Unforgettable Fire is my original that I bought?
No, because mine is too.
Okay, boo. What song on here has a winter reference, if you can think of it?
Trying to go down the track list in my head.
And it's the lyrics, not names of songs. That makes it harder.
It
And you know it's time to go through the sleet and driving snow.
Yeah.
Sort of Homecoming. It's probably one of my favorites on this one. And also the Unforgettable Fire references ice in the first line too. So 2 for on 1, 2 bands, 3 winter references. Whoo! Top that.
I didn't think of either of I was looking through my U2 records and I didn't come up with anything. Shit. Good one, man.
Unforgettable Fire popped into my head almost immediately because of that line about ice, your only river's run cold.
The closest I could come to was a cold and wet December day touched the ground at JFK.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's not I mean, it's kind of, but not really.
December.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That's a great song, by the way. But anyway.
We would have given it to you.
Right.
I would have given it to you.
Well,
yeah.
fair.
I don't know about Daryl, but I would have given it.
I wouldn't want to get kicked off this stream for violating the rules.
When it comes to that song, Numb, I could tell you that on a regular basis in this cold weather lately, I've had numb fingers and numb toes on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
I know exactly what that's
Well,
like.
even shoveling, because of this hand, I can't wear the gloves. I have to wear mittens, which I don't like. So my ends of my fingers were freezing when I was shoveling snow on, I think it was Sunday. So
I had the entire right-hand side of my face numb today because I had 2 fillings put in. So literally was frozen for like 4 hours. So I win. There you go.
There you go.
That. All right.
I didn't know we were having competitions tonight.
Well, Richard started it with his. I got 2 songs, 3 references. Beat that.
Competitive in here tonight.
I guess.
So I don't know if Morton's still in the audience there. I hope he is. So in recent weeks, I have brought up Greenlandic bands.
Oh, not
like
again.
That. I have a different one again. This is actually a folk. It's actually a folk singer who grew up in Greenland and in Denmark. His name is Simon Ling or Lynch. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And he does an album. It's all in English, this one, so you can understand it. But it's an album called Deep Snow. And there is a track on it called Deep Snow. It's really good stuff, though. I mean, if you haven't checked this one out, obviously, the background of this is actually it reminds me of like a blizzard. I think it's a blizzard of some sort on there. And basically I'm thinking like a Greenlandic or Inuit family kind of standing in the snow. But it's really just calming folk music from Denmark and Greenland. So I mean, I can't really say too much else about it, other than the fact that I do have more Greenlandic music. Maybe one day I'll do a video just solely on my Greenlandic stuff. But Simon Ling and Deep Snow, it's just mellow, relaxing kind of music to me. So there we go. And I mean, anybody who currently lives north of Rob has a lot of deep snow in their yards.
Sure.
As we alluded to earlier, Joe, you're like 5 feet of snow, 20 feet of snow. I'm like, feels like 100 feet of snow.
I bet.
There's probably 5 feet of it just on the roof of my house alone.
That's crazy.
And I did say roof. I don't say roof. I've never heard anybody say roof in my life.
No, it is roof because it's two O's. Roof. Roof.
Who let
I'm
the
Daryl,
dog out?
when you're looking at that back cover, does it look like you're in your car looking out the window on a snowy day when the sun's kind of shining?
Well, to kind of give you a story, it reminds me of this one time I was coming home after Christmas break, visiting my parents when my dad was still alive in London, and driving home from London all the way to Cochrane. We got to North. We got to North Bay, and I visited a friend in North Bay, and then we were commuting from North Bay to Cochrane. We got about an hour north of Cochrane. There's a village called Tamagami, about halfway, and we got there, and I was behind a transport truck, and I said to my wife, I am not going in front of this transport truck because I can't see a thing. And so I just followed this transport truck, but the worst part about it was is you couldn't see the taillights on the trailer. The only way that I knew the distance between me and that transport truck was when the truck would go around a turn, you could see the side lights on the trailer. That's how much snow it was. They never closed the Trans-Canada Highway, and I was white knuckle driving for 3 hours straight north. And I said to my wife, that is the last time we are going south for Christmas. And it's the last time. That was 2012. I haven't been south for Christmas except once. We took the boys to Great Wolf Lodge in Niagara Falls one Christmas. That's it, though.
But Giles agreeing with you that highway is an absolute nightmare, and he says the scariest drive of his life was to New Liskeard.
My daughter lives in just outside New Liskeard, and I've had to deal with some weather since she's moved there. So, oh yeah,
fun times.
Yep, I've driven in a few ground blizzards from Fargo, North Dakota north, and yeah, if it had not been for the taillights of trucks, I would not know what lane I was in. It was terrible. Many times.
So tell me again what the top of your house, how is that pronounced?
Roof.
Everybody?
Roof.
Who let the dogs out?
Anyway. Right.
Yeah. Anyway, I wasn't sure if you heard the joke earlier. It landed pretty flat.
I thought it was pretty good.
Thanks. All right. Seeing as I'm going to assume Mr. Moore. I don't know if GWG or J. See, I can't even say it. That's why I'm just going to say Mr. Moore brought them up. I'm going to bring up Cinderella and Long Cold Winter. And as a double, I don't know if I can beat Richard's whatever the hell was going on there. But on here, there's a song called Fire and Ice as well. So Long Cold Winter, Fire and Ice. And there is another artist with a song called Fire and Ice for bonus points. Anybody?
Pat Benatar.
Female singer. Pat Benatar. There you go. Yeah. Pat Benatar. Very nice. But yeah, obviously, kind of lumped into the hair metal scene, but they were at the tail end, and I've never really considered them to be that. Hair metal to me is Poison and Doc. It's not even Dokken. It's Poison. It's Poison and Motley Crue, really, for the most part, is hair metal for me anyway. But just good bluesy stuff. Kind of took over when Aerosmith was sucking a little bit and kind of took the reins and the mantle of that bluesy stuff. But great album, Long Cold Winter. I did a video for a dude. I came out of retirement, then I did a video for a guy, and there is a Cinderella album that is on my want list for this year. That's always been on my want list. I just haven't found it out in the wild, and I don't think it's going to be in that big collection I bought, although there are some gems in there, are there not, Rob?
Yes.
Yeah, so far so good, and I've only gone through about 5 boxes so far, and I found a few in there. So, and I've listened.
You got some good stuff in there.
I've listened to Lindy 5 times now.
And what do you think?
Unbelievably great. I don't know how would you if you were forced to categorize her or compare her to anybody, have you ever thought of that? Because I came up with something in my head today, but
I mean, I think of her as kind of like 50s flavored country, and she kind of has that sort of like Patsy Cline kind of voice in my head.
When I was listening for the 4th time, I kind of came up with like a sultry Emmylou Harris, Dolly Parton vibe a little bit.
Yeah,
there's one song that is completely Dolly Parton, and I can't remember what song it is, but it was like, and that's kind of where the impetus, but a little Emmylou Harris in there as well. But
yeah, sure.
And Awesome. I mean, not that I did not believe you before when you kept telling us, but
Right.
now that I've actually had a chance to listen to it and enjoy it a few times, it's really, really good stuff. So plus,
And that's her first album. The second album, Cigarettes and Truck Stops, that Colin Linden produced, is
Yeah.
10 times better than that one that you've got.
yeah, and that's really, really good. And it's taken up the mantle of the album that's always out near the turntable for no other reason than Little Red Boots.
So what did you think of the White Horse record?
Yeah, it was really good. As you said, there's kind of the bookends, right? That are not throwaways.
those are
They are. I
throwaways.
don't know what that's there for.
I don't
But
either.
yeah, again, just really, really good, and a little haunting in a couple of spots, and
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I have to give it a little better of a listen as well.
That's
I
their
kind of had it
folky.
on.
So that's their folky record. So you got to bear in mind each record's kind of a different genre. They don't do that record again.
Right. Yeah, you said that's the thing.
So-
So that was unless it's out of alphabetical order, that was the only one, because I went through the W box and that was
Sure.
the only one that was in there. But maybe there's some more that were out of order in the shelves that I
And
boxed away.
did
But
you listen to that Cuff the Duke record?
I haven't yet. No, I left that one
Okay.
at the shop yesterday. I'm going to bring it home and listen to it. And then there was
Sure.
also not that this matters, because there was a Steve Earle in there that I didn't have, but I didn't think there was
Okay.
any Steve Earle that I didn't have, but there was a Steve Earle in there too. So yeah, there's not
Sounds
going
like a
to
hell
be
of a
many.
collection you got there.
Yeah, it's been really, really good. So we'll talk about that more later. Anyway,
Fair enough.
Cinderella, Long Cold Winter, Fire and
Fair
Ice.
enough.
There you go.
Which then makes it my turn, right? Okay.
It does. Yes.
Look at that. I'm still keeping everything in order. Holy smokes. I don't have any
Yeah,
cheat
you're
sheets
good.
either. Okay, so I know last time I showed a very obscure singer-songwriter in Taylor Swift. This is a band I don't know if folks have heard of before. They're not around anymore. But there was a band from England called the Beatles. And this is an album they did called Abbey Road. And there's a song in here called Here Comes the Sun. And it's kind of, it's kind of about the arrival of spring. There's a lyric in here that goes, "Little darling, the smiles are..." No, that's the wrong verse, you stupid fart. "Little darling, I feel the ice is slowly melting. It seems like years since it's been clear." So it's kind of like, the end of winter and spring is coming, and here comes the sun. So, yeah, I'm going to go with that one. This is my original UK first pressing. And the way that you can tell it's a UK first pressing is it has a misaligned apple. It's not in line with the text like it is. So for the very first production run, they screwed it up. So this is, if you're looking for a UK first pressing, this is the most scarce, the misaligned apple. There you go.
And it's on that nice shiny wafer thin paper cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We caught up on a few comments here. John's going to go take some Xanax and some whiskey. And Record Hound says, just be glad. Yeah, the 402 to Sarnia, I've driven that in the winter. And thank God after London, the few bends after London, thank God that's straight for about 45 minutes, because you just hope you're staying on the highway. It's pretty brutal. I do it often. I used to do it often. I don't do it as much as I used to. I now have people that work for me, and I send one of those guys down to Windsor and Sarnia. So it's a benefit.
My mother-in-law lives in Sarnia. I've done that highway lots. It's boring. At least it's not long, but it's boring, and in the winter, awful.
I would rather do that drive from London to Sarnia than London to Windsor. So if I'm driving to Michigan, I'll take the Sarnia route because it just seems a little bit quicker. But there you go. Richard.
It's Gary Newman time. Woo!
Who's that guy?
Some singer.
Okay.
Kind of popular. I don't know. One hit wonder to many, but not to me. Because what was that one video? It's like, what album do you? Oh, it was Glenn. I think it was Glenn thing where it's like, how many albums do you have by this one artist? 122 CDs I have of Gary Newman.
Holy
Wow.
shit.
Yeah. They're all over there too. So 2 albums. This is Warriors. I want to say it's from 1984 or something. Probably the worst cover ever. he is wearing this sort of like, Blade Runner type thing. There's even Blade Runner movie samples in some of these songs. The song is called The Iceman Comes. It's kind of a dark song. It to no surprise, this is not Newman's most popular album at all. Who knew? Never released in the United States. I didn't even know this existed until closer to 1990 because, internet wasn't born yet. So that's number one. Number two is great. Wait for it. Yeah, that's Gary Newman. Gary Newman had his blue hair, white makeup phase, and this was his stage outfit. So you have that, it's always emulating Bowie and kind of like reinventing himself. This is a little bit more synthy pop. I can't even describe it. Anyway, in this one, the song called Cold Warning on the beginning of side 2 is our winter reference. I actually wish you'd used that for the front cover rather than that, because you see that coming at you and it's like, whoa, it's kind of scary. So 2 Gary Newman winter references, nothing too exciting, but a little sampler. I really do at some point want to do a deep dive into Gary Newman as a video. It might get 10 or 15 views tops, I would guess. And it would probably be about 2 hours long.
Do it for you, man.
I've done one of those too, where it's it's something that you want to make a video about, and nobody watches it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like embryonic robots. It's Tom Waits. He hits like 14,000 like 4-part videos of all of his Tom Waits. Or no, it's somebody else. Lou Reed, maybe. I don't know. He has a lot of stuff.
For sure. Okay, Daryl.
All right. So next up is, I would say that it's another Canadian content here. I would say that this band is very divisive in Canada. You either like them or you don't. Kind of like,
Nickelback.
We respect the Tragically Hip. I know that there's lots of people that like them. Rob, you and I are kind of on the same page with this. I'm not the hugest fan of Tragically Hip. I know Rush is a similar band to that, where you like them or you don't, but you appreciate what they have. And so this is a band from Manitoba. It took me forever. My dad used to love these guys. It took me forever. In fact, it took me until my dad passed away for me to understand these guys. And that is Crash Test Dummies. And on their Ghosts That Haunt Me album, they have a song, the opening track's called Winter Song. And I've started to appreciate them. That's not my favorite song on here, but if we're going to go with the winter theme, there's nothing more than Winter Song, which pretty much is about that. But this is the one that has Superman song, Ghosts That Haunt Me. Here on Earth, I'll Have My Cake. That's kind of a funny song. But yeah, no, it took me a while to get these guys, to kind of understand what they were all about. I know Mark Morris really likes these guys. He's a huge fan of them. So, if you haven't checked out Crash Test Dummies, check them out. They are an acquired taste, but if you get into them, you can get into them pretty deep. So, Winter Song by Crash Test Dummies. That's my next pick.
That album's fantastic, and so is the other one, God Shuffled His Feet. That's a great record.
Yep. Great album.
That's the one that had the huge hit in the U.S. The or however you say that.
And you know what? They knew that they made it big when Weird Al covered that song.
Right? Yeah.
Which is hilarious. That's a hilarious version of it.
Yep.
Peter Pumpkinhead as well. Yeah, those are great albums. I really like those albums. So
Peter Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
They were all over Much Music back when I was addicted to Much Music in the 90s.
Yeah. Along the same lines too, I saw another thing I saw today. Wednesday is my day of surfing and listening to music and hanging out at home and playing pinball and doing stuff and getting ready for this. So as I was surfing around today, I see that the Pursuit of Happiness and the Odds are going out. At least they're doing one show together, and I hope that kind of becomes more of a tour, because I think that'd be a great combination. Obviously, Mo and I can't remember the gentleman's name from the Odds in the Trans-Canada Highwaymen. So
who are also touring this spring.
Yeah,
I got to get a ticket because they're coming to Waterloo.
Yeah, there's gonna be some good stuff out there. Some good North American tours.
There you go.
Yeah.
Joe, take it away. You're next.
My turn. Okay. I think I've told this story before, but if I only told stories I hadn't told before, anyway, I don't even know where I'm going with it. I've told this story before. I'm going to tell it again though. So, and I've always told it. I thought as it was a North American native indigenous story, but I've since come to learn it is a Australian Aboriginal story, and that is the story or where Three Dog Night got their name. And the reason that will make sense to those that don't know is that there is a tale of if it's X cold, like let's say it's -10, you only need to sleep with one dog. If it's -20, you need to sleep with two dogs, and then -30 and below, it's a 3-dog. You need to have 3 dogs sleep with you in your tent or wherever you are. So that's where Three Dog Night comes from. So for those that didn't know, now you do. And that's the short and sweet version of that story, because I'm pretty sure I've told it before. But
I have never heard that before. That's cool.
Oh, really? Oh, well, there
Yeah.
you go. Good. But that is the at least. Well, I think they've actually said, yeah, that is where we got the title of our band from. It's just been handed down that X amount of cold equals X amount of dogs, and it happened to be a cold enough night they needed 3 dogs to sleep with. Or it might have been girls drunk at the end of the night at the bar. It could have been 3 dogs there too. It's one or the other, but I choose to go with the cold aspect.
I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay. My turn. Are you ready for it, Richard?
Do it.
Ready?
Come on.
This is gonna be a twofer.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So Blue Rodeo. You guys ever heard of them before?
No.
This is the album you need to get, Richard. This is their greatest album by far. It's called 5 Days in July because it was recorded over 5 days in July at Great Keeler's Farm. It's fantastic. It's like Neil Young's Harvest. It's their answer to that. However, there's a song in here called Hasn't Hit Me Yet, which arguably is anthemic in a way. When they play this at a show, there's tons of videos of them playing it on YouTube. You can check it out. Greg walks up to the front of the stage, plays the first couple chords, stops, and the entire audience sings the first verse, and the entire audience sings the chorus, and then the band kicks in and plays the rest of the song. And when there are 10,000 people doing that, it's pretty special is the way to describe it. But in that song, there is a lyric that goes, and picture the image, if you will. I stand transfixed before this streetlight, watching the snow fall on this cold December night, and out in the middle of Lake Ontario, the same snow is falling on the deep silent water, the great dark wonder.
Ooh.
Greg wrote this when he was living in near Port Hope, which actually still lives near Port Hope out on a farm. And literally one night he was standing underneath a streetlight and it was snowing. And he thought to himself, this same snow was falling out in the middle of Lake Ontario. And it made him think about, the enormity of that. And so this is one of the greatest songs, not that they wrote, but I mean, in modern Canadian songwriting is one of the best. So that's a great, I love the imagery of that. And then this is their Christmas album, but let me explain why I'm showing their Christmas album. They have a Christmas album called Merry Christmas to You, but there's a song on here called Glad to Be Alive. And it is not a Christmas song. It is a winter song. So the Christmas album came out in 2014, but that song they originally did on their 2002 album, Palace of Gold, which is an incredible album. And they re-recorded it for the Christmas album. I'm just showing the Christmas album because Palace of Gold is not available on vinyl, unfortunately. I didn't pull up the lyrics, but it basically paints the picture of, a winter landscape. So there you go. Glad to be alive. There's my Blue Rodeo twofer.
I have a very fond memory of, hasn't hit me yet, a fond and unfond memory as well. We were in Toronto, my sons and I, for the Indy car race a couple of years ago, and we were downtown. The race was done. We were going to head back to our hotel, and there was a shooting, unfortunately, in downtown Toronto. So we had some time to kill, and there was, they take you out on the little boat tour over to that island across the way, whose name escapes me at the moment. But anyway,
it's called Center Island.
There you go. So all the way over there, I'm singing that song on my head, in the middle of Lake Ontario. And yeah, so I mean, I know that's not the gist of the meaning of the song, but for me, it was a fond memory of having just the if you're in a certain scenario, if you're in a certain situation, just the music that comes to you when you're in the middle of Lake Ontario. Or doing stuff like that. So it was cool. Like I said, it was not cool because we had to kill some time because someone got shot downtown. But I was hanging out with my kids, and I explained to them as I was singing this song out loud a little bit, and explained to them the song because they were a little familiar with. Christopher's a little older. He knew who Blue Rodeo was, but Riley wasn't that familiar. So yeah, it was just it was kind of a cool moment. So that's what music's supposed to do. It's supposed to have those moments, and that song, that moment, I remember, and I'll always remember singing that song to myself as I rode across the middle of Lake, not the middle of Lake Ontario because it's a big friggin' lake, but
right. You went out to the island. While you were saying that, I pulled up the lyrics of Glad to Be Alive. It said, it was high on a hill where she'd go at night and stand in the snow-covered field looking across the lake to the lights of town. Glad to be alive. A still winter's night with Christmas stars shining so bright, and the wind knew her song, and she cried and sang along. And it goes on. It's just a very sad sort of loneliness winter kind of song, which he's also the guy that did that winter album that I started with, which was sad and lonely in wintertime. So there you go. Let's see here. Some comments. Let's see. Hubtunes, Richard, I did a 3-part Gary Newman series on my channel. Got a ton of views. There are diehard Newman fans out there.
Yeah, I know a lot of my UK folk have been asking me to do a Gary Newman deep dive of one way, shape, or form. Good to know. I will look that up because I'm all over that.
And then Vaginal's saying Tedeschi Trucks and Government Mule. Are you kidding me? You're coming to Bud Stage? Oh, boy.
That'd be good.
Ooh, I might have to go to that.
Yeah, I know you don't get into downtown Toronto often, but
not if I can help.
That might have to get you there. That might get you there.
It might get me there.
Yeah.
That might get me there. All right, let's go around
maybe
again.
There'll be a Jays game that afternoon, so you can two for it. Go to a Jays game, go to the show.
That works.
Or the next
I could see Santander hit a dinger or something.
There you go.
There you go.
Hey,
the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. As I clear my throat annoyingly into the mic. This is a very obscure band. So the band is called I Like Trains, kind of all one word squished together. They are a British post-rock band, kind of dark, ambient-ish. Kind of think of a very downbeat, like The National, only bring the tone down even more. I have probably all of their albums on CD. They're almost impossible to find on vinyl. This is called The Christmas Tree Ship, and it's kind of a not really a concept album, but it kind of follows the true story of a schooner that would come across Lake Michigan delivering Christmas trees to Chicago, and it sank, killing its entire crew in November of 1912. And so there's only 5 songs. It's a one-sided EP. And then other songs kind of talk about there were some sister ships that also sank that night. So they were sailing in a storm and they just went down. So yeah, it's not an upbeat Christmas album by any means, especially with that cover. I mean, that is a cold looking, nasty, Lake Michigan. You're dying in a boat, not fun at all. But for me, this was very elusive for years. It was only available as a download from the band's website for the longest time. That it was released on CD for like a minute. It sold out instantly. 2014, this got released on vinyl, and I managed to get it. And it's not overly valuable because it's not really a hot commodity, but just to say that I finally got this, it was a grail for a while for me. So really happy to get this one. So I like Trains, The Christmas Ship. Very good.
Wow.
Daryl.
That's based on a true story, Richard. That 1912.
Yeah, I guess it's a true story of a schooner ship that would sail Christmas trees from one side of Lake Michigan towards Chicago, and it just went down in a storm, and two other ships went down with it.
That's insane. That is terrifying. There's no doubt about that. Like, I wouldn't say that I have a huge fear of going down in a ship, but just hearing some stories about that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings me actually to my.
Hold on one second. Just for everyone's edification, it's called the Rouse Simmons. It was a 3-masted schooner that sank on the 23rd of November, 1912, carrying thousands of Christmas trees from Wisconsin to Chicago. All 16 people on board died. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Google's your friend.
I'll have to give that a listen. That's
it's very dark and ambient, but it's really fascinating.
Yeah, I like the historical stuff. And speaking of terrifying, this is another band, like the Beatles and Taylor Swift, I don't think anybody's ever heard of. Pretty obscure stuff. And they did an album in the 80s, thrash metal, called Ride the Lightning. So I don't think anybody's ever heard of Metallica before.
No, probably
but
not.
On the Ride the Lightning album, they do a song called Trapped Under Ice, which to me would be the most terrifying thing ever. I just can't even imagine. So I guess I should show the album. Ride the Lightning. We've all seen it. And then on the backside, Trapped Under Ice there. And of course you got members of the band there. But I'll kind of give you a story. At my high school, we offer an outdoor education program where the kids basically do a canoeing or paddling trip as their final exam. They learn how to live off the land, build fires in the snow, and all that kind of stuff. A few years ago, my daughter took that course, and they were building quincies out in the back of the high school. Quincies are just like, I don't want to call them igloos, but they're like big hills that you build like a snow fort kind of thing in.
Yep.
And what happened was we had a really big cold spell, but then we had a bit of a warm spell, and they were my daughter one in the Quincy, and it collapsed on top of her at the end of the day.
Oh no.
Yikes.
They took them 5 minutes to get her out, and they broke 4 shovels doing it. That's how heavy the snow was on top of her. And so that song, just the thought of Trapped Under Ice is just terrifying to me. My daughter my daughter's fine, but it's taken her a long time to get over that incident. It was pretty scary for her. So,
yeah, no kidding.
Ride the Lightning, Trapped Under Ice. And then, what's ironic about the whole thing is song number 3, 2 songs later, is called Creeping Death.
Oh,
So I don't know if there's some kind of a theme on that album, but I mean, I'm not a huge Metallica fan, but I can appreciate that album. For Whom the Bell Tolls is on there. That's my favorite Metallica song. And I got that album as a Secret Santa gift a few years ago.
Oh, cool.
Nice. Tim's saying his wife has a James Hetfield guitar pick that he gave her at a show. That's cool.
That's cool.
Sorry, Joe, what were you saying?
I was just going to say you got that album because you're the legend,
That's right.
right?
The legend.
That's right. Or was that the T-shirt? I can't remember. Was that the shirt or the album?
The T-shirt I got was the Pink Floyd Dark Side of the
Right.
Moon T-shirt. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, Joe, you got something
I'm
else?
up. All right,
You're
we're gonna come back to Canada for this one, and it is going to be a foot in cold water. Cold. What are you gonna do? For those that don't know, I'm sure most of you do. The big song, and really they were kind of one-hit wonder-ish. Kind of. They might have had a couple, but here in Canada, it was easier to not be a one-hit wonder because you could put an album out and they'd usually find at least a couple of songs to play because they had to play Canadian music. But Make Me Do Anything You Want, later redone by the band Helix, also from Canada, and both versions are really good. But yeah, originally just a good band. They put out four albums, but yeah, good stuff. Also a twofer, A Foot in Cold Water, but there's also a song on here called, and Daryl can relate, I think, Deep Freeze, on this one. So that's probably how you felt the other night, I would imagine. When and then I'm not sure which context to take this in, but then also In Heat. So I don't know. They were all over the place on this one. They were in the freezer, and then they were in heat, and they were just having a good old time, and then they were sticking their feet in cold water. But pretty basic album covers back in the day. I think their band name, they got a different logo after this as well, a little more stylish logo. But there you go, good old Canadian boys, A Foot in Cold Water, and a couple of songs in there. Well, I guess the In Heat one doesn't necessarily count for our topic this evening, but Deep Freeze certainly does.
Fair. All right. I'm going to show a record by this band because I don't actually have the song that I want to talk about because it was released as a movie soundtrack and it was never on any of their albums. But I'm going to show one of their albums because it's my fantasy wife, Susanna Hawks, the Bangles, and they did a little song called Hazy Shade of Winter. You guys know that one? Yeah. That was in the movie The Big Chill, if I'm not mistaken. It is a Simon and Garfunkel song, and it's not really about winter per se. It's about not mistaken, it's about like a dejected poet or songwriter who's just kind of bumming around the city feeling shitty for himself. And, basically, every chorus is, look around, the leaves are brown and the sky is a hazy shade of winter. And then there's another line about the leaves are brown and there's a patch of snow on the ground. So it's kind of got that imagery of being, that we all know, or well, those of us northward, we all know that sort of early winter when it isn't really winter yet, but it's gray and miserable. And, it's not the pretty white snow on it. It's just, slushy and shitty. Well, that's what I think of when I think of hazy shade of winter. So the Bengals. That was Simon and Garfunkel, but let's be honest, the Bengals did it better than Simon and Garfunkel did.
Oh yeah.
And if you disagree with me, you're wrong. So
yeah, there you go. I was watching something, I can't remember exactly last night, but there was a reference that I thought was well put, and the reason why I bring it up is because of songwriting. So it was Pete Seeger said at one point, quoted, I don't write songs. I just stand by the river and scoop the lyrics up out of the river. And then I believe it was something along the lines of, but I never stood downstream from Bob Dylan. And then I wanted to add, and I never would have stood downstream from Paul Simon either, because Paul Simon wrote a lot of really good lyrics, regardless of, your enjoyment of his version versus their version. But yeah, there's that too. So yeah. But I thought that was kind of a neat comment. And then the fact that he said, but never stand downstream from Bob Dylan because there wouldn't be anything left. So I thought that was kind of cool. I don't remember now exactly but I mentioned something to you, Susanna Hoffs and another dude and those albums. Let's talk about that a little bit. That sounds like that would be fantastic. I got to find that.
Yeah. So
Matthew Sweet, right. Yeah, that's it.
Matthew Sweet, by the way, just had a life-threatening stroke when he was in Toronto, and he barely survived.
Oh Jesus! Yeah,
He had to get airlifted back home, and he almost lost his life, but he's okay. But yeah, they did 3 albums called Under the Covers. Hold on, I've got one of them right here, sort of. Hold on. Here we go.
It came to mind because of her doing that cover. It's not. I mean, it is a cover. I guess they did do their version of Hazy Shade of Winter. But anyway, go ahead.
So that's Susie and that's Matthew Sweet there, and they did 3 volumes. Obviously, volume 1, 2, and 3, and that was probably, I think the first one came out in like 06, and then in 2020 they released a compilation that is the best of those 3 albums put together on 2 discs. So this is the best of Under the Covers, and I really like it. I mean, it's good. Put my infatuation with Miss Hoffs aside, it's very good. I mean, Susie sounds like she sounds. You know, she's got that really sweet voice, and her Bengals song sounds just like the song she sings on here. But they do some really good stuff, and Matthew Sweet is a good singer-songwriter too.
Good.
So it's I mean, there's stuff on here like And Your Bird Can Sing, which is the Beatles, Secondhand News, the Fleetwood Mac song, Sunday Morning, Maggie May, Different Drum, Cinnamon Girl, Melissa, Bell Bottom Blues. It's all over the place, but really good. I'm looking for the original volume 1, 2, and 3. You can buy them online quite easily, but they're a little expensive.
Yeah.
You can buy them individually, or you can buy them as a box set, which is even more expensive. So I sell them for the best of until I find the original volumes. But it's good. It's a good listen for sure.
Yeah, I saw the songs, and then in my head thought of the voices, and just thought that would be pretty cool. So that's awesome. Good.
It works well together. I like it.
Wonderful.
All right, we got time for one more round. You guys good for one more?
Yep.
Okay, Richard.
Okay, this will be my shoegaze round, if you will. So I got 2 shoegaze bands that have winter references, and the first one is from Ride. This is their classic album, Nowhere. What is on here? Everything. Seagull is on here. Unfamiliar is actually one of my favorite songs by them. But the winter reference is our friend Daryl's favorite animal. It's called Polar Bear. So, Polar Bear is on side 1. So, Ride, UK. I want to say they're from Manchester area. So, that's number 1. And then number 2 is probably the most ethereal of the shoegaze bands is Cocteau Twins. Heaven in Las Vegas. A lot of people say this is their favorite. It's probably my second favorite. My favorite from them is Bluebell Knowles. Not their first album. It was kind of in the middle. The song on here that has a winter reference is Ice Blink Luck. So we have another ice reference. If you've never heard of a Cocteau Twins album, find some Cocteau. The Cocteau Twins have their own web YouTube channel with upgraded, they have like 4K videos of their old stuff. Elizabeth Fraser's voice is a force to be reckoned with. She's like a just operatically trained voice, and it shows. She sings beautifully, and it's haunting and engaging. So, Cocteau Twins. There, my twofer with shoegaze winter theme. Done.
You said Ice Blink. What was it called? Ice Blink what?
It's Ice Blink Luck. They have weird names to their. All of their songs are just kind of gibberish. Have a lot of gibberish titles. So,
has anybody actually had it where your eyelashes are so cold that when you do blink your eyes, it's just awful?
I've had that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have frost on your eyelashes. Yeah.
Like ice blinking is a real thing.
The other thing that sucks is when it's so cold, your snotsicles merge with the ice that's in your mustache. Ugh.
My favorite Calvin and Hobbes cartoon is where he like goes outside, he breathes in and goes, "Don't you hate it when your boogers freeze?"
Right?
because it's a real thing.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
It's so cold. You breathe in, it hurts.
It's so cold right now. If you pissed outside, you'd freeze midstream. It'd be like a pissicle. Right, exactly. All right, Daryl, what you got?
So this is the second last round. Is that correct? Yeah.
No, last round.
Last round.
Well,
So
we can
lightning
maybe, I don't
round?
know. Can we squeeze one more? We can do one more. Sure. All right.
Yeah,
Second last round.
All right. So earlier in the show, I wasn't sure if I was going to show Glass Tiger or not. I'm going to show it.
Do it.
This is going to be brief though, because in theory, most of the songs on this are a Christmas album. However, the snow globe on the cover is cool.
Very nice.
But I figured songs for a winter's night. This is their Christmas album. There's a few songs on it that aren't Christmassy, but I think that the snow globe is the cool thing on here. Obviously, you're not going to have a snow globe at any other time of the year than the winter time.
Is that a cover of the Lightfoot, a Songs for a Winter's Night?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and it is spoken words, that one.
Before you proceed, then, since you just talked about it, I won't show it later. Then I'll just show it now real quick. Gordon Lightfoot, A Song for a Winter's Night. And it is, it's not really a wintry song. It's a song about, him sort of sitting alone in a cabin or whatever, being lonely essentially. And it's winter outside. That's the extent of it.
And it's kind of a spoken word song. It's not really of all the songs that we've talked about today, it's probably the least songish song, I guess.
Yep. I didn't know Glass Tiger covered it. That's cool.
Yeah. And that was released, I think, in 2018 or 17, something like that. And then I do have another Canadian one here. Now, speaking of super cold and what I felt like the other day, Bruce Coburn's Mummy Dust has Coldest Night of the Year on it. And that is exactly what that song is about, is getting warm with your girlfriend or your partner or whatever it is on literally the coldest flipping night of the year. And I honestly can't say I've seen minus 50 too many times. The other day was one of those times. Absolutely horrendous. I don't wish it upon anyone.
No, because on top of being shitty cold out, stuff just stops working. Obviously, you are, well aware of that. But cars don't work and just stuff doesn't work. There's just no need for it. There's just no call for it either. But, it is what it is, I guess.
And speaking of divisive singers, there's a lot of people that don't like Bruce Coburn in Canada. Just his voice and stuff like that. It's an acquired thing. I like Bruce Coburn, but I've met lots of people that don't. So, but I think that's his only hit that he ever had in the United States too. Coldest Night of the Year.
All right, Joe.
I have a question. Richard, did you go to the University of North Dakota? Do you have someone that goes there, or you just got the shirt somewhere?
No, I'm born and raised in Grand Forks.
Nice.
But
I was in
go
Grand
there?
Forks.
That area.
Yeah.
Did you go there?
Yeah.
There you go.
Awesome. Good. I was there a couple of years ago. Very nice. Nice little town, actually. Nice, not town, city. I enjoyed it.
City.
You
Yeah,
may have
small
different
city.
view on it, but yeah, it was good. It was our first stop on our tour across northern United States to get to Ottawa last year. So, all right. Speaking of divisive voices, and you mentioned them earlier, we're going to go with Rush and Vitor the Snow Dog. So, great album. I like Rush. I never had a problem with Geddy's voice, and I could watch Neil play the phone book, if that makes sense. Doesn't matter, whatever. Right? He could just come up with whatever, and I'd be fine with it. So, yeah, there you go. I don't need to say much more. Everybody knows who Rush is, but, plus pretty cool snowy owl on the front as well. So, Vitor the Snow Dog, plus the imagery on the front, I think falls deeply into the category of Brrrr, It's Cold Out There.
Yes. Agreed.
And yes, he does. Yes.
Okay. I got to show CD on this one because it's not available on vinyl. This is the Sky Diggers. And this is an album called Desmond's Hip City. Sky Diggers are kind of a roots rock band from Toronto. Been around. This album came out in '87, and there's a song in here called "November in Ontario," and it is about someone falling out of a boat and drowning because the water is so cold.
Hey.
Let me just pull up the lyrics here.
We got a little bit of a falling out and freezing to death kind of a theme going on here, besides being
I
pretty
noticed
cold.
that.
Yeah, a little bit, but that's okay.
Oh, there we go. It's apparently it's. I mean, it's written by Andy Mays, the lead singer. So I don't know if this is an actual first person story, but 5 men in a wooden rowboat capsized on an uncharted lake. My grandpa met a tragic end. He perished on that hunting trip. One lone survivor held onto that upturned boat, weighed down by their heavy clothes. Others wouldn't even float. November in Ontario, cold water and an early snow, 100 feet from the water's edge. They never even had a chance. Woo! That's grim.
Yikes.
Now I don't know if that actually did happen to Andy's grandfather or not. I don't know. I could find out,
Yeah.
but I don't know. But anyway, November in Ontario sucks, and so does December, January, and February. We kind of turned the corner in March. So there you go. All right, we got time. We'll do one more turbo round here.
Cool.
We can do that.
I only have one left anyway, so there we go.
And people wonder why I don't live here anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
North Dakota is like Southern Canada and North. It's freaking cold in the winter.
I often wonder. Sorry to hijack that thought, though, but I often wonder.
No, go for it.
My family arrived in Canada in 1832. And I would like to meet my great whatever grandparents after the first winter and go, why are you still here?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, like there wasn't heat and electric. Like they had a wood shack, I would assume, that they probably heated with a stove of some kind. This is 200 years ago. Why would you stay where it's so goddamn cold? Move south or something. I mean, unfortunately, you get into America, but maybe that's why. I don't know, but good Lord.
Yeah, nobody wants to live there anymore. So.
Anyway, sort of hijacked the thought there, Richard. Continue.
No, that's fine. So this is the threefer of classic rock bands with winter something or other. So yeah, you got to go with Kiss. Joe, what's the song on here that has to do with winter and freezing and all that stuff?
Well, I don't know if it's cold gin or not, but that'll work, right?
Good answer.
warm you up and cool you down and warm you up at the same time. So
exactly. So cold gin from Kiss.
Cold gin.
Nazareth's I can't talk tonight. Nazareth's probably least known album, Malice in Wonderland, actually one of my favorite Nazareth albums, just for the song Holiday, which I really like. The cold on here is Hearts Grown Cold. So we got two colds and one
great ballad.
Winter. Edgar Winter Group.
Johnny.
The only reason I bought this album because I remember this cover. Growing up, I would go to our record store, and this album always stood out to me. I was like, it's like 1973 or something. So I was 9. God, that album cover is so cool. Music isn't bad either, but I didn't find that out until later. So Edgar Winter and Too Cold, classic rock. There.
So Kiss was the first album I bought. Not that one. Kiss was the first album I bought. Nazareth was the first band I ever saw live. Not that tour. And Johnny Winter opened up for Nazareth at that show. So there, So there you go.
In full circle. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. That's such a great ballad, that Hearts Grown Cold and Holiday. That's a really good Nazareth album that, you're right, gets very little love in the world. But I don't know. There's not a lot of bad. Yeah, there's not a lot of bad Nazareth albums, I don't think. Anyway,
No,
I've always been a big fan. So
the cover art drew me to this when I first found. This is my original from back in the day. I was like, wow, that album cover is cool. I've heard of Nazareth. I'll get the album.
Malice in Wonderland. Yep, good stuff.
All right, Daryl.
All right, I will also show 3. The first one I'm going to go with is probably the oldest out of all the albums that we've shown today. When I typed in my search, I did not realize that the Kingston Trio did a song called Chilly Wind. Chilly Wind, which when it's minus 40 here and you get a big gust of wind, that is not a pleasant experience. Richard, when you talk about living in North Dakota, and Joe, you living in Saskatchewan where there's no trees at all, there's just nowhere to go when it's windy like that.
Correct.
Chilly wind, and then, of course, Rob, you in Southern Ontario, when it's that friggin' wet, damp, cold, and windy, it just goes right through you. So
absolutely.
Kingston Trio, Chilly Winds. And then I got a couple of Frozen ones. So another band that is underrated, I think, in Canada, but I wouldn't say they're my favorite band, but closing in on it is Frozen Ghost. Really like Frozen Ghost. This one has Pauper in Paradise, and I forget what the other one is on here. Dream Come True, I think it is. Yeah, Dream Come True. Those are the 2 big hits on that album. But they also did a song called Should I See, which was all about Canadian government censoring music and that kind of stuff. And they kind of protested that whole idea of censorship. So Frozen Ghosts, pretty neat stuff. And then one of my favorite mellow guys is Dan Hill, and he did an album called Frozen in the Night. I was actually just listening to this before your show. And it has no singles off of it that became popular, but it's a pretty good album if you want just mellow stuff. So Frozen in the Night, Dan Hill. He's probably one of the few that I'm almost a completionist. There's him and Gino Vanelli for solo artists. I have almost all his albums and almost all of Gino's. So there we go, Dan Hill.
Plus, that album's one of those odd, like, now colored vinyl is just a dime a dozen, but there is a blue version of that album as well. So if you're out there looking, there's a blue version. It's like there was that disco star Claudia something or other. Hers was a red one, or the Who did the red album. They, like I said, now it's dime a dozen, but there is a blue version of that album. I'm just full of useless shit tonight, aren't I? I mean, not just tonight, but
aren't we all? That's why we're here.
That's right. All right, let's finish up. I'll do 3. First off is going to be a band I've talked about a number of times before, but I really like these guys, the Boomtown Rats. The big hit off of here, of course, was I Don't Like Mondays. But speaking of wind chill factor -0 is a killer song on this album. This whole album's really good. If all you've ever heard is I Don't Like Mondays, listen to the rest of this album. I highly recommend it, but Wind Chill Factor -0 is great on there. Then the next is the band Cold Chisel from Australia. Jimmy Barnes, if you remember in the Lost Boys, him and In Excess did a song together. He was the lead singer and then went on to solo career. Working Man, also in Gung Ho, the one with Michael Keaton. Working Class Man, pardon me. That's also Jimmy Barnes, but his band was Cold Chisel, and it's pretty good stuff. There's the boys from down under. A lot of good music from Australia, and a fair bit of it made it out, but I bet there's a ton of good shit down there that we never heard. It's like the Harlequin and the Trooper and the Street Hearts and the Prisms of Canada. There's got to be those kind of bands over there. So
they do a song called When the War Is Over. It's pretty killer.
Yeah, I like those guys. I think that's the only one. I've got Jimmy's 2 or 3. That's the only one I've got by them, but they're good. I like them. And last but not least, my hometown boys, not current hometown, but my hometown when they were a band. Well, they're still a band. Anyway, Northern Pikes, Snow in June. And it actually has snowed in June in Saskatchewan, and that's where the title comes from. So, and that's a picture of their mom and dad when it snowed. That's not true. That's not true. But it's a great album. It's a harder one to find, and it's one that I keep telling I keep telling Potman when I talk to him, and I keep telling the boys when I see them, you got to get this reissued because there's lots of people looking for it, and this is not a very good copy, but it is a copy of it. So there you go, Snow in June.
All right, I'm gonna finish with one more because that's all I got. And this is basically a Christmas album, but I'm going to talk about a song that is not a Christmas song. This is White Horse. This is, and Joe, you picked up your first White Horse record. This is their Christmas album called The Winter Classic from 2019. This is like their 7th album, I think. Luke Doucette and his wife, Melissa McClelland, they are longtime members of Sarah McLachlan's band, for those that don't know. They're mostly originals on this, not Christmas carols in the traditional sense. They're White Horse Christmas songs, but there is a song in here that is not a Christmas song, and it is called Two Snowbirds. Those two snowbirds up in the sky a mile from mid-October. Let's escape to some southern state before we're frozen over. It's literally people that leave Canada and go to the U.S. in the winter. We call them snowbirds because, you know, the snow is coming and they fly away just like the birds do, and that's what that song is about. So,
and none of us showed Snowbird by Anne Murray. What the hell, man? It just dawned on me. Oh, there you go.
There you go. Richard,
perfect. Yeah. You know what?
There's actually a Snowbird. Elvis Presley did one called Snowbird too. I don't know if it's the same song, but
it's on my Canadian. It's on the Elvis Country album. So yeah.
Awesome. We talked about White Horse earlier. You know what is really odd is, again, those bookend first and last songs. What's even odder about them is if you play them on 33 because it's a 45 album and you forget to realize that and you put it on and it's like, wow, this is different, Rob. And then, oh, okay. And then it got into the second song because that first song, you know, it doesn't sound a hell of a lot different on 33, but the second one does. So, but
there's some great tracks on like on that first record. Killing Time is Murder is an amazing song. And Passenger 24, that was a song from Melissa's solo career that they re-recorded as White Horse. Cool. Really good. The second album, which is called Fate of the World Depends on This Kiss, it goes a little more rock than what that one does. But that one has a Springsteen cover on it, the one you've got there.
Yeah, I'm on Fire is the cover on there, and they do a really nice rendition of it. And it's cool as a duet, actually. And I've seen Bruce and Patty do it as a duet. Yep. I think they did on Howard Stern. The most recent interview they did, and it's a great version of it, them doing it as a duet, and it's a great album. Again, not that I didn't believe you, but you know, we always hear our friends talk about albums, and sometimes we get a chance to get them, and sometimes we don't. So it was kind of nice to finally get a hold of one and have an actual listen to it. Versus, you know, I went out and I listened to some Lindy on YouTube, but that's not the same.
It's not the same.
Put it on the record player. It's not the same.
It's funny. So for those that don't know, Joe co-owns a record store called On a Vinyl, and he has his own YouTube channel for that. But he bought a collection a couple weeks ago. It's pretty large. And a few times this week, Joe has been texting me pictures of records that I've talked about. And I was shocked because I listen to some Canadian music that most people don't even know about, and I don't do it to be obscure. I'm not snob about it. It's just that's a lot of it's local music to me. So I've seen all of these people in concert many times, and I love them. So I was shocked that, you know, Joe sends me a Lindy Ortega record and a Cuff the Duke record and a White Horse record. All those people I've seen, all those people I've met. I own all those albums, and it was just an eclectic collection that you would find those in there. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think it was there was a mom and dad that were part of this collection, and then there was a son in the mid-30s or whatever that was part of this collection as well. And I don't think I could tell you which one was the one that listened to those albums.
Sure.
But there's a few other gems in there as well, and there's lots of other cool semi-mainstream stuff. But yeah, I'm it's such a rush to look through these boxes. I mean, because I've said it before, I didn't look through them when I put them in there. So yeah, every box is like Christmas. So I've got Christmas every day, and it's been awesome. And I'll keep sending you pictures.
Yeah.
There's another one that I was going to send you, but I haven't yet. So I will.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. We'll start wrapping this up as we always do. We'll go around the horn and you can promote your channel or whatever. Richard, you were our guest. So what's going on? I mean, highlight the rebranding of Richard's Vinyl Tap House.
That was rather, I'm not going to say it was spontaneous because I've been tossing up all kinds of names for my channel for ages. And I was thinking, no, because Alex sort of, I'm not going to say he stole beer and vinyl, but he thought of it first. And I had always wanted to kind of combine the beer and vinyl thing. And I went Tap House. And then sort of the play on words with vinyl tap, spinal tap. Tap House. Okay, worked for me. And kind of went with it. I'm like, this is a great idea. So I'm going to run with it for a while, see if it catches on. It's kind of like rebranding, like, Sam St. John being Americana Sam. So I was just working on the introduction to the Vinyl Tap House video, and when I finished it, it was in slow motion. I was like, why is this 23 minutes long? Talking. Yeah, I was like, okay, delete. We'll have to do that again.
Oh, you don't have to reshoot it. You can just speed it up, eh?
I don't know if I could do that on my iPhone. I'll look at it.
When you upload it to the YouTube Creator Studio, you can change the playback speed of it.
Oh, I could do that. Okay, I'll fiddle with it because it was taking forever to upload. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Hit playback and yeah, very fun. So that's my next adventure is introducing the world to the Vinyl Tap House.
Love it.
Awesome. That's great.
Very cool. Daryl, how's your contest going?
Contest is going quite well. MGK posted a comment on it saying he's like, there's a lot of entries going into the video, and I've been keeping a running tally. So the three of you have all done one. I've watched all of them. Added it to the entry. I think I'm at 21 or 22 entries so far. There was one entry that I wouldn't have even realized they did one. It's just I clicked on my mentions and I saw a new one there, so I'm gonna have to look that up. Steve from what was formerly known as All the World's a Stage, he just did one. I'm gonna have to watch that after.
I just watched it this afternoon or before we came on. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be freezing my balls off. There's only one. There's only one entry, and it's a toss up. Ed from, on my turntable, he's still thinking about it, but everybody else has gone with option 2, and that's they basically were like right off the bat going with option 2. So I
even made my thumbnails as Daryl. Go jump in the snowbank, Daryl.
My wife saw that and burst out laughing. She's been laughing. My wife's been watching them with me. She's been laughing at all of them. There was one, I forget who it was. They mistakenly thought that I said I was going to do it in my underwear. So that's funny, but no, it's going well.
Good.
The contest, and I mean, it doesn't end until February 16th or 17th. I'll be out of town, so it'll probably be a couple days after that. But I'm going to Timmins on the long weekend, so in February that'll be exciting. We'll watch a 4-day hockey tournament.
Yikes!
That my son is playing in.
Awesome.
But other than that, I'm going to try to get a video uploaded this weekend. I've been wanting to do. I know, Rob, you did one. I think you said a few years ago where you spell out your town using albums in your collection.
It was actually, I think that was MGK Boston that did that, and I just jumped on it. But I didn't actually spell the city I live in because I like to keep that vague. So I spelled out Toronto because it's the closest metropolitan center. So yeah, but
I don't have much of a choice, and I'm not spelling out Moose Factory. I have no desire to go through that many albums.
Right.
Yeah, you got to put them away at the end, though. That's the problem, right? So yeah.
But who can say that they're going to show 3 albums where the band starts with O? There you go.
Right, exactly.
But other than
Yeah, you
that,
can do
like,
it.
nothing else going on other than my contest and a couple other things. So, yeah, if you haven't done the contest, check it out. Do it. I'm sure you're going to make me jump in a snowbank. It's all fun.
How has your first year been? Did it go by? Did it go by as fast as what my first year felt like it went by?
Yeah, it went by really quick, and it's always funny. Like, I was going back through some of my videos, which, like, I kind of used it as part of the contest, just as explanations, and the videos that get the most views versus the ones that don't. It's always funny. Like, I never would have thought that I'd get almost 1,200 views on a video about struggling as a vinyl collector in Northern Ontario. And then something like my Bruce Hornsby analysis of the albums and stuff get very few. Like you were saying, Richard, that, doing Gary Newman, it's going to be one way or the other, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
There's no logic to it, I don't think.
No, I don't think there is. And even the algorithm is ridiculous too. So
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Speaking of Daryl's contest, Joe finally made a video over on Racer Records for the first time in
Came out of
forever,
retirement.
rather than his store video.
exactly. Yeah. It, it was great. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was some great questions and it was a lot of fun. And I thought I'd get one out there and do that from my buddy Daryl. So yeah, it was okay. A few people have watched it. It was good. What I would like to know though is if we could all just do the time warp right now. I'd like to see if any of us actually know how to do the time warp, because I watched somebody's today and they mentioned the album Rocky Horror Picture Show in it. So
What are you getting at,
Yeah.
Joe?
I want to do the time warp. I want to see you do the time warp actually.
Fuck no.
Damn it.
No.
I thought maybe. No?
Nope.
Fine. It would warm you up.
I wouldn't know how to do it, but I
No?
love the song. I
Good
hate the
guess.
It's a
movie.
great. Yeah.
I hate the movie. It is the stupidest fucking movie ever made. But I gotta
I
love
watched
the
it.
soundtrack.
I watched it last month again,
Oh,
just
it
because. But the music, right? I mean,
music
yeah,
is good,
you
but
got to
the
wrap
movie
the visuals around it, but
is
still,
stupid. But I mean, if you want, I can do the dance to the Spice Girls song "Stop" if you want. Stop.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
I can,
Walk
but I'm
like-
not going to.
walk like an Egyptian,
I can
maybe a
do
little
that
bit
too.
of Egypt.
I can do that too.
All right. Anyway, yeah, I did a video. It was for Daryl, and I'm going to try and do a few more along the line. I don't know if it's going to be with any regularity, but I'm going to try and do. And then, yeah, still have the store. Again, it usually relates to things going on at the shop, but if you want to check that out, check out On AV and On a Vinyl. I appreciate that. And yeah, Racer Records again. All the people that were there before, it was like, oh shit, he did something. I think is what it came down to. But yeah, it was fun, and how to support my buddy. So there you go.
There you go.
Appreciate
As for
it.
me, I think my video last week was Daryl's contest entry, and the video that's coming up on Sunday. Should we tell them what it is, Joe?
Yeah, we could tell him. Sure. Yeah.
All right. So I got a video coming out of Joe, and I have a video coming out of my channel on Sunday, my regular Sunday video. It is the Beatles versus Kiss.
Ooh,
It is. Yeah. So.
And
interesting.
we say versus, and really what it is, and I'm going to air quote the words favorite, Joe.
That's fine. Yep.
My favorite band is the Beatles. Joe's favorite band is Kiss. And it wasn't a video to sort of who's better, whatever. That wasn't it. It was both of us discussing why each of us love that particular band as much as we do.
Yeah.
In short. And it was good because, those bands are very similar in one way, but incredibly different in another way. And it was just kind of us discussing how we fell in love with those bands and sort of what they've meant to us. And it was a really fun video to make. I was hoping it was going to be a half an hour, and it was well over an hour. So
yeah.
But I'm going to upload it in its entirety. And I mean, I can't speak for Joe, but I had a lot of fun making it. It was a great discussion. So
yeah, no, it was awesome. Yeah. And there was, I don't know if if you gained any appreciation for
Yeah.
Kiss. I don't know,
Absolutely.
maybe a little bit anyway.
Well, I looked
right?
at it through a different lens, right? I looked at it through the
Sure.
lens of someone who loves that band rather than just what my opinion of that band was.
Right. Yeah. And that makes sense. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a blast. It was fun. So
Yeah.
I don't know who we do next. I'm not sure. Maybe I don't know. We'll find
Who knows?
something.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But it was fun. So that'll be up on sort of midday Sunday. So
Good.
that's it. Thank you, guys. And folks watching in the comments and folks that are going to watch this later in the week, thank you for spending a couple hours with us. It's the highlight of our week that we get to hang out with our buddies and talk about records, which is a lot of fun. So thank you, everyone, for the time. Richard, thank you for being our special guest. It's always a pleasure when you join us. Daryl, Joe, always fun, my friends. I look forward to this every week. So thanks, guys. And I already have the idea for next week. I'll tell you about it offline as soon as we stop recording this. So
Perfect.
All right.
that's everything, guys. We'll see everyone again next week. Have a good night.
Everybody keep your stick on the ice.
There you go.
Take care and stay.